What's up, survivors? Welcome back. And how are we doing today? All right, guys, we are going to be doing some quick short snips and cut-ups from my live stream of reaction to CitizenCon this year of 2024. So if you happen to have missed it and want to find it in a small, easily digestible doses, feel free to go through and check them all out. So before we get started here, I'd also like to say that if you are a new, returning, or veteran player looking for a home, my organization, 12 Blades International, is recruiting for all types of players of all different types of play styles. You can find more information down below about our organization, as well as links to our Discord and the forms for application to join up for now until we get something more permanent in game. Well, let's get started.
What about bigger things?
The Pioneer.
So, who can guess what that is? So, I talked to you all quite some time ago about this in Germany, and this is obviously the original concept for the Pioneer. Now, some time has passed, and whilst the core concepts of base building have remained the same at a high level, how you physically build your bases has changed slightly. So back then, you were building everything on board the ship here. You would fly your Pioneer. This is the area I want to build in. I'm going to build my base on board the ship, and I'm going to drop it down. As you've seen, bases are a lot more expansive now. This doesn't work anymore. So we need to do a little bit of some reconcepting.
Doesn't look anything like it. Looks ugly.
Okay, so one of the first things we really wanted to kind of solve was the arm. We know a lot more about how we're going to be constructing these structures now, and kind of the arm didn't really make a lot of sense anymore. All it really did was it made the space you need to land the ship almost twice as big as what it's kind of needed. And we're not real spaceship engineers. We don't make real spaceships. But what we do try and do a lot of the time is we try and take as much reference from kind of real-life manufacturing as we possibly can.
Down there,
and I think that's really
the tumblers.
It's really key to what I think Star Citizen is as a whole across like all the different departments. In that we're trying to make a believable universe. And if you think about the arm, and whilst I can't deny it's a cool idea, I think really from a manufacturing point of view, all it really does is it adds a lot of complication and a lot of manufacturing costs onto what is already a very advanced, very large, very costly ship to make. So that was kind of like one of the kind of real first things we wanted to do. The second thing we wanted to look at was kind of have a little bit of a shift around of kind of like the egress points on the ship. The cargo position has moved, so we needed to kind of update that. We wanted to make sure that the landing pad made sense and had space to kind of come into the ship. And then we also needed a way of getting things out of the ship that we will be crafting. On top of that, we had a few other goals. Like I say, it needs to support all the updated kind of building mechanics. It needs to support all our current metrics, and I don't mean just character metrics. I mean all metrics, because we're going to be creating a lot of things inside this ship. We wanted it to kind of become a true self-sustained mobile base. We wanted it to kind of be kind of like the cornerstone of your crafting and construction ventures. And to do that, we needed to add a few extra kind of onboard facilities. So a med bay, like I say, the crafting area, the ability to refine or extract and refine materials.
So let's have a quick look over the updated interior of the Pioneer. So at the back of the ship, we have the classic bridge, looks out over the expanse of the ship. And then top and bottom of that in this image, we have the escape pod rooms. And then leading off those is the access to the manned turrets that remain. Then going downstairs, we have the cargo area at the top. Doesn't look like a lot. That's 1,000 SEU of cargo now in that space.
Yeah, and if that's that, holy shit. This ship is mad enormous.
Next to that is the fabrication control room. This is where you'll be controlling fabricating larger vehicles and ships, as well as smaller fabrication machines next door for. You don't want to use this to build a small FPS weapon. It's a bit overkill, so we have that on board as well. In the center of the ship, we have a small fabrication hangar with roof and ramp egress. So if you're building a small ship on board, so things like a Nomad, you can build on board here. You'll be able to fly it out the roof of the fabrication hangar. And then we have the existing small landing pad that transitions from outside the ship to inside the ship. So cargo you can load via new entrance that Ben's going to talk about in a second, but you can still retain the ability to land a ship on top of this ship, move it inside your ship, all those things. Engineering at the rear, this is now capital components all the way around. It was a weird mix of size 3s before. It's now just all capital everything. Then we have the habitation, mess hall, medical area between the hangar and engineering. And then at the front, we have 4 extra large drones in the drone room. But we don't just have some pictures like this to show you. Ben's going to go through this in a bit more detail now.
Okay, yeah, so we're going to have a little look at kind of like the concept and where it's at on the interior. We start out on the interior bridge. It's very spacious, or command deck bridge, whatever you want to call it. It gives kind of really nice views out over the front of the ship. And right up front, you've got all the consoles required that you need to kind of control the ship, as well as the kind of additional remote turret access consoles. And then at the rear, we have the main kind of navigation components and some small engineering consoles. And kind of flanking either side, we've got these 2 corridors, and they lead out to the manned turrets that kind of sit above the bridge. And they also have all the escape pods needed for all the bridge crew.
When it's time to get the hell out of Dodge.
Okay, we want this to kind of be a home away from home, so we have a very large, comfortable habitation area. Each of the crew members, they get their own individual crew pod. And one of the nice things about this is these actually open up, and they allow kind of each crew member to kind of decide like how much privacy they actually want. This is the crafting area. We've got the 4 kind of crafting machines. And these are right next to the cargo bay, the internal cargo bay. And as John says, this holds up to 1,000 SEU of cargo, so it's pretty sizable. To make it a little bit easier, it's got its own dedicated cargo lift at the back that, again, just simplifies that kind of getting cargo in and out of the vehicle. Down at the front, we have the drone room. Now, these will be 4 extra large drones, so they'll be able to craft our largest structures in game. They exit the ship out through the roof, and they're all controlled by the construction console in this area. And finally, we're just going to take a quick look at the crafting area on the ship. So you can see here we've got these blast shields down that kind of protect the crew in this area from what's going on inside. And then as these open up, we just finished making a storm. And as we see, there's a ramp that leads out, so you can drive any ground vehicles straight out the front, between all the landing gear, and you get this really nice kind of like sense of scale as you're driving underneath out the front of the ship. And we've also got the top exit for any flight vehicles. And then finally, we have the landing pad, and this just allows us for any ships that land up on deck, we can just bring them down into the belly of the ship.
Needless to say.
What'd you say?
I want one.
Yeah, everybody does.
Had quite the glow up over the years. Holds 4 extra large drones. And if you're interested in finding out what extra large drones can build, I highly recommend sticking around for the next presentation. It's about 20% bigger. I know the jokes, we always make ships bigger, but to fit all that in, it needed it. It can craft small ships and vehicles. And one thing we didn't show in that video is the landing gear actually have integrated ground resource extractors in. So when you find your plot, you land your ship and you can start extracting resources from it.
Go somewhere else.
Capital components all round, and now it has 1,000 SU of cargo capacity. Now the bad news. when base building comes out, this will not be their day one of it.
Obviously.
But we are starting this in the next week or two. So it is in production very soon.
Which means we could see it by the end of the year or next year.
So